What is up, YouTube? Today, I've got something that I've been looking for quite a while actually. I was minding my own business the other day, doing this and that, and I have eBay search alerts on my phone, and you know, you get these search alerts that you've put on months and months and months ago, and this CT447 came up, and it was a search alert that I set whenever, because I saw somebody demonstrating this deck, and it has a rather natty kind of 80s LCD display when it is calibrating tapes. It's got a self-calibration feature on it for recording, and I thought that's cool, and I just added a search alert and forgot all about it. And then this came up in my price range, spares or repairs, and I thought, why not? So I picked it up, and it's arrived, and this is me plugging it in for the first time. I've just plugged it in. The seller said that he had tried to service it, not got very far, got a little bit scared, and therefore just chucked it on eBay. So it's in pretty reasonable condition visually from the outset, and we'll have a bit of a run through it. But while I'm zoomed out a little bit, let's just power it on and see what happens from the offset, really. You get a lot of whirring from the motor there. Power and tape. So as you can see, the display is pretty cool on this actually. And that kind of graphic equalizer thing in the middle, I think, is the auto calibration feature. It ejects, does everything else. Does absolutely nothing else. Doesn't do anything else but make a noise. So let's have a quick look around it, then we'll open it up and see what needs doing. The deck itself is pretty standard fare for a Dolby B and C deck. We're probably talking early 90s, I'm going to guess, when the LCDs are pretty cool. It's got a lot of gold on it, which seems to be a thing about Pioneers. Pretty straightforward stuff. There is a little tiny bit of damage there to the plastic, as you can see. You can expand the decibel meters as well if you want to do that. Let's give that a try. And it just moves to a different meter. So that goes to plus 12. Why you'd need something on plus 12, I don't know. And that one, it tops out at plus 8. Auto BLE doesn't work because, well, nothing really kind of works. It's also detecting that it's a metal tape. And that's our Dolby B and C on. We've got phones level over here, which is always quite a nice feature. A lot of decks you see nowadays, they don't have a level, which is, you know, you could have this plugged in minus an amplifier while you're reading your paper or something in the morning. 2 motor transport system, it's got HX Pro in it, and our auto bias level equalizer calibration. As Pioneer loves firing loads of words on the decks. And they've taken a bit of a leaf out of Morancy's book actually, because there must be about 6 different fonts on the front of this. But let's have a quick look in the transport and see what it looks like. Transport is a little bit minging, and as you say, it's a 2-head deck. But I don't know if you can spot it, but give yourself a second and see if you can spot what's missing. There's a good reason why nothing's going to work in there. There is no pinch roller, and that capstan looks minging, to be honest. If I can just zoom us in. Yeah, no pinch roller, full of dust, full of muck, full of dirt. It looks like one of the types where the transport front is actually part of the deck. So I think that this piece of plastic here, that's rubber actually, that's a bit unusual. A little bit of cassette stabilising. I believe that when you take the transport out, you get the metal bit out the back. This black piece stays in place. But that's all going to need a clean out. It looks pretty honest and pretty fair, to be honest with you. So let's take the top off and see if we can't work out what it's doing. There we go. Okay, ALPS, caution electric shock. What have we got? So we have got a separate board there, what looks like for Dolby. Toshiba branding all over the place. It smells like early 90s to me. Everything's kind of separated, nothing's particularly integrated. We've got these wonderful 486 PC ribbon cables, that's pretty cool, but inside it's pretty clean, pretty sharp. Let's have a look at this transport and see what that looks like. So upon inspecting the transport then, also nice and clean actually, but one thing I have noticed is there's the capstan. Again, what's missing from that? No belt. So Upon digging around in the bottom of that transport, I have found one snapped belt with a piece of white on it. Maybe somebody's chalked that on for some reason. Maybe they're using a timing light for the speed, I don't know. The motor does add speed regulation on the back, but there's our issue, which is interesting because usually these don't snap. These usually kind of, it's on the edge. It's on the edge of turning back to goo. There's not much stretch in it anymore. So hopefully it's a pretty straightforward fix and just a case of a clean and calibrate. So having never really touched this transport in my life, I have to play the good old guessing game of how do you get the transport out. That bar, that whole bar is the eject mechanism. Wow, that's pretty over-engineered, I will say. So we've got some screws down the bottom holding that in, and some screws on this side. Do we need to remove the front panel? Do these come out? They look like they should. I'm trying a better tool. Yeah, they do. They're actually discoloured, which is unusual because that can't have seen sunlight. Ah, so they're like retaining clips, look. So the retaining clip actually retains the cables themselves, and the clips stay in place in the transport. I think that's actually it. That entire, and we've got two head wires. Let's clip this little. I've got a feeling nobody's been in this. Let's get rid of that. That's very, very yellow, which is a little strange. Where are we? Head wires, head wires, head wires. Erase head is our small 2-pin over here, and our play head is our small 3-pin over here, and I think that is us clear of everything else. There is a, what's this? Oh, that's a timer switch. Just to get a little bit of space, I'd like to remove that as well. And these ribbo cable things are a pain in the backside. They're kind of ribbed so that they, maybe that's just where it's been in the connector rather than the actual cable being ribbed on purpose. But let us start removing screws. I don't want to remove... Well, there's one for a start, so let's take this one out. I wonder if that makes a difference. Does that stop it? Yep. So that's just basically the top transport screw, and then there's going to be two underneath, which I can actually eyeball from under here. Some bits of plastic in there as well. So let's go underneath. And this one is in line with the transport, but there's one there which is actually that's the board. So I'm going to hold the transport obviously like a good guy that I am, so it doesn't fall down. That is that one. Transport doesn't yet feel, there's another one hidden under here actually. Doesn't feel totally loose. That's through plastic as well, which is a bit unnerving. If I can get this out. Come on, that feels more loose now. So let's spin around, and this possibly, what's holding on? It's very difficult to see what is now holding this in. I can see what's holding it in. It's actually wedged behind this motherboard, or main board, or whatever you want to say. So we're going to have to unscrew it and just kind of move it over. Rather than unscrewing a motherboard, well, let's use maths. There's about 7 screws holding the front plate on, and knobs and switches, and there is 4 screws holding the motherboard in. So just bear with me while I take these out. Okay, I think we only need to move it kind of 2 centimeters this way. So if I can kind of pop it out of these bits at the back, and then, oh man, this is not great for the maintenance kind of guy, like so, and there we go. It's also going to give us the opportunity to inspect the solder joints on the back of this, because I do like to look at things like RCA connections that can develop dry solder joints. And then once you put it all together and it's all sorted, you've got to press play and you've got to take out the bits again. So we'll have a bit of an inspect of that while it's out. But I believe this will now allow us to absolutely not get the transport out. Wow. Ah, I see the issue. There's a little plastic clip underneath just holding it in place, which I think is that there's one and there's another one. What a strange setup. Let's just pop back in again. You heard it. There we go. Ta-da! One transport. Oh, that's a pretty cool looking transport actually as well, YouTube. Look at that. This rubber bit is outstanding. There's been a bit of design going into that actually. They cheaped out on the light behind the tape though. You got a little bit of a silver thing there for reflecting light. But that is one cool looking transport. And let's have a look on the back. Very, very straightforward. Very basic actually. Solenoid activated. The solenoid wires look like they're dying to get caught on something so that they can be broken. Very standard motor. 29th of September 89. So, you know, late 80s, early 90s was my guess. We've got a real motor there and a very basic capstan. But it's very clean. I think what I'll do is, I don't know if I can remove that motor. We can maybe get in there and put a drop of oil on the motor shaft. We can remove the capstan, clean out the bushings. But the rest of it looks to be in pretty good condition. It looks like the capstan is possibly retained there by a circlip, which is a little bit different. And I'll find a pointer retained by a circlip there. That's quite good. It means the capstan's not going to fall out. Heads all look nice and clean. Wiring looks pretty good. But this has actually made my day, this little bit of rubber effect. Who's even going to notice that? Who's going to pick up a tape deck and go, well, I really want that one with the rubberized 80s robot kind of vibe going on. So anyway, let's give this a clean, see if we can get this capstan out and clean all in there and re-oil our motors, and then rebuild with a new belt and a new pinch roller in there. Then we'll have to do a bit of testing. Also, the pain in the backside I'm going to have to find is the axle, because there's no axle. Maybe there'll be it looks like it's just a standard kind of 2mm axle. It looks the same as a Sony pinch roller size wise, so we can give it a test and see what it looks like. Looking at underneath the mainboard then, usually the things to go first will be RCA connectors. So here's the back of your RCAs that are on the back of the deck. And these larger solder blobs are what is obviously holding this to the mainboard. They usually go pretty quickly because you're pressing your RCA connectors all the time. Headphone jacks, not so much. Or whatever these jacks are, look like headphone jacks, maybe microphone jacks. But I think these are for connectivity to proprietary other Pioneer units for CD wow, I would usually cut that out. CD deck synchronization. But they all look good. Everything looks totally fine. Nobody's been wiggling anything they shouldn't have done, so there's no concerns there. So let's put that to one side. Alright, so here's our transport. The first thing we need to do is get this, we get that pinch roller out first. That is done simply by just pulling that tab and lifting. There we go. There's our pinch roller holder. A lot of the times, the spring's going to fly off as well. The grease is nice and clean in this actually. A lot of the times that pinch roller can be sometimes holding your play raft in place. It can be holding this play raft in place, so you've got to be careful. But it's jammed in by this cover plate here, which I'm not going to take off unless when I go to play it, it doesn't work, obviously, then we'll get to that. But for the purposes of getting it working, The next thing is going to be that. Oh, look at that, that's cool. We've got to get that out. So without putting my hand all over the heads and doing it on camera, let's see if I can't do this without pinging it. Yeah, good. Wo ist einen Tweezers? Don't ping it, don't ping it, don't ping it. There we go. So there's the first bit, and that capstan should now really fall out. I bet there's a washer there. There is. And there's our capstan. So that is also that washer there. Ah! Don't do it. There we go. Let's tip that over there as well. Cool. It means we can get some oil and give this a clean out and a scoosh out. It also reveals our mode select wheel. I'm really careful. I'm being really careful not to touch these wires here, which you can see are just itching to be broken. Mode select wheel looks nice and clean. We'll drop a bit of grease in there. Grease is nice and clean actually. Lithium grease by the feel of it. And it's minimal cleaning, but while it's off, why wouldn't you? There also seems to be another washer at the bottom of the capstan there, which I don't want to get in the way when I'm cleaning it. Those washers look identical for anybody doing this, so it doesn't matter which way around you get it. But not a bad looking capstan, a bit sharp on the edges, if I'm honest with you. But right then, let's get to some cleaning. What I've taken to recently, a lot of people would use cotton buds, but I keep finding bits of cotton in things, so I don't like that. So I've got some pretty decent lint-free cloth, which is what this is resting on at the same time. And I like to put my IPA basically on the cloth just a little bit. And then once the IPA is on the cloth, I know that I'm getting a decent clean, because I can put more pressure on it than I would probably get with... Is that straight? Yeah. Then I would probably get with a cotton bud without bending it. It's picking up some belt gunk off there as well, which is good. And it's a little bit more abrasive than a cotton swab. Cotton swabs sometimes just seem to just polish things. Right, I'm going to leave that as it is. That's not going anywhere, although it's just... No, that's alright. That's like the resting position in the middle. In fact, I bet what happens is, when this capstan goes back in, we've got to get the gears in that gap there, like that. That's got to be aligned like that. So let's get some... Ba-da-ba-ba-ba! Where's my pipe cleaners? Quite a thin bushing actually. Close your eyes if you're under 18, you shouldn't be looking at things like this. Yeah. Not a lot really. Ah, just got it in a cut. There's a kid outside crying. I'm back in a minute. Alright, the kids stopped crying. So what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to swap back a little bit on what I said, and I'm going to avoid those wires and just try and get in there and give, if you can actually see what I'm doing here. That's going to have to come out. How the floop does that come out? No. For the sake of just getting my fingers in there, I'm not taking that entire transport apart. We'll just clean and clean and clean until it don't clean no more. Alright, that's exactly what I did. Clean and clean and clean until I could not clean anymore. Let's get that light in there so you can see it. There we go. All nice and clean. So let's get some oil in there on that mortar. The beauty of having a needle, he says. There's some oil in there. I'll clean the heads once we're finished with this, but let's get this capstan back in and secured. Capstan oil in. Don't forget only oil this bit. If you put oil up here, it's just going to go all over your tape, which is no good for anyone. So just a tiny smidgen of oil and a tiny bit on there. And then first of all, it is our tiny washer. That's in place. That's the reason I put a bit of oil on there, is to basically hold that in place, so hopefully it doesn't fall off now. Like magic, see? Right then, let's get this capstan back in its slot. I'm going to have to wiggle this mode select wheel once it's almost in as well, because there is, as you can probably tell, a cog on the back. So in order to get it to seat, we're just going to have a quick look. There we go. Okay, and then we have to hold that in while we avoid those copper wires on the back. And oh no, I just dropped that thing. Oh no, I didn't. I put it on. Ha! Thought I dropped it. Right. This is going to be quite difficult actually. I'm going to put this in place with some tweezers on camera while there's a phone in the way of my face and a light above my head. Oh, this is so destined to go wrong. Right. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes, please. Okay. Capstan's in, oiled and cleaned. Let's give our heads a bit of a clean with some fresh cloth, and then we'll just give this a little bit of a dust. The deck itself needs a massive dust as well, but it is only dust, I hear you say, and there seems to be a bit of grease gone awry. Right, pinch roller. So what have I got in stock? Let's start with Sony stuff, I think. Service manual states 13B8B2, which is this bad boy, and I've also managed to find a axle, which I've given a bit of a clean. So in good spirit of maintenance, let's give that a tiny bit of oil, not too much. Right, perfect then. So let's fire that into our new pinch roller. I have got IPL of my fingers, that's why my fingers are white. Those who are disgusted, and hopefully this will. Beautiful. And that should basically fall into place that way around, and there's even a little hole for this to sit in. That's it. Beautiful. And hopefully that is, the service manual is correct and that's the correct size. But nice new pinch roller. Let's fit the belt on the back, which is amazingly easy to fit. Had difficulty trying to find a belt for this, but just kind of after I took the top off and before I started removing the transport. So I have ended up buying a 63B5mm flat belt from good old Tech. Nothing to do with me, although I wish there were, because I think I'm probably their best customer at the moment, but they're decent belts. Again, Tech, give me some free things. So hopefully this at 5mm wide will work. But the pain in the backside is, if I give you a top-down view and move my lamp, you got to hook it round the motor, which I'll try and do like this. These picks are absolutely invaluable. Someone asked me recently what's the best tool that I have, and it's definitely a set of picks. And now I think we can just run that over the capstan. That's very strange, there's a piece of plastic there. And that looks, does it look good? I need to centralise on that. Doesn't seem to want to centralise on the motor, maybe 5mm too wide. Where's my pick? Can I just wiggle that onto the motor without damaging the belt, please?
A few moments later.
There we go. That's it. We are centralised. So as you can see, it is centralized on the, this lighting is not working today. Centralized down here on the motor and on the capstan. I am wary that this seems a little bit too wide. So once it's spinning up, no, seems fine. Seems fine. So if anyone's doing this, 4mm will probably work as well. Right then, let's get this back into the deck, I think. Right, I think that's in. No, needs a bit of a push. Listen for the click. Oh, very pleasurable click. It just needs to wiggle across a little bit, I think, to get that hole lined up in the top throw screw, and then we'll get everything plugged back in. I might as well start with these. Trick with these is to make sure that these are actually straight before you put them back in the connector. There's one. Where's the other one? Yeah, they're kind of straight. They like to, one of them always likes to bend, and then when you put it in, it bends it even more. And you have to be careful, because if that is a power lead versus your negative lead of your earth, then you're going to break something. But I think we're aligned and in. Doesn't seem to be. Wait a minute. I think I might have trapped the. There we go. I'll move that across now. Yeah, perfect. I trapped these head wires and got trapped in between the case and the transport. So I'll screw this back in. We'll just put one on the top. Can anybody remember what the screw looked like? Because I can't. I think it was a brass one. So we'll stick this one back in, and then just for the sake of keeping it all in place, I'm not going to go put the motherboard, main board, whatever you want to call it, all back in. But I'll do underneath, and then we'll have a test. What did we forget to do? Forgot to put these ones back in. So I've not screwed that main board down, but what I've done is just reseated it, because it sits on a load of clips. And I had to tip it upside down a minute ago to get these two transport screws back in. The top tip I will give you is the reason why you should always screw a transport in before you do a test, is because a lot of the time if you don't, it can affect tape alignment, and it'll either chew your tape or just throw everything off. But that's us all connected now. Aside from the screws holding the main board in, it's still a bit loose, but it's good enough for now. Let's put a tape in. This is more of a cursory test, but I just want to make sure that it actually plays the tape fine, and maybe we'll have a bit of a play about with this auto synchronization thing. But as long as it plays the tape, we can move on to calibration and speed and stuff. Well, let's see. Power. It's not really done anything different. So this has actually gone to 0, 0, 0, 0. If I move us around. That's a bit of a better view. So it's actually engaged a tape counter, which is pretty cool. So if I fast forward, these are the least likely to break. Yeah, great. Nice quiet motor too. Stop works. Rewind. And this is either going to work or not, basically, because of our pinch roller. Alright, good. There's nothing on the tape. So if I change it for what we got, Charles and Dave, let's try that. Let's see if we can get some levels and see what levels look like. Generally this tape is a little bit off by levels, so I'm not too worried if it's off by one channel. But the counter reset button is gold. Oh, that's satisfying. Counter mode. Oh, you can put the time on it. Blank search. Don't know what that does. I presume it's like skipping forward to the next track, but we've got levels as well. As I said, the levels kind of a little bit off on the tape, but the meter, snazzy set of meters as well, I'll be honest. Pretty good. And I want to try the auto BLE, and then we'll calibrate, and I think we're done. But I will reset this camera to look at this, because I'll show you the reason why I wanted this in the first place. Let's try our trusty calibration tape and we'll try this calibration. Let me move you to fully appreciate this. Okay, so what I want to do for this demonstration is the ability for you to see the tape and also this, because I can't remember where I saw this happen, but I thought I want that. It's so childish, but let's see if this works. Oh, here we go. So first of all, it's detecting and playing back recordings to set your bias. Look at the little animation, and then we're doing the levels. Oh, it's got a little animation. I feel so childish right now. And then the next one's EQ. Oh yes, please. And it displays it there too. It's so silly. Tune, ready to record. Let's do that again close up. I've tried my utmost to make this the greatest experience of your life. Okay? Get ready, because this is awesome. Hey! First thing we need to do in our steps of calibration is speed. So let's put in our calibration tape, which will play a tone at a recognised and previously recorded correct volume and pitch and whatnot. Now, as you can see, I've got my screwdriver in position in the back of the motor, which is where the adjuster is. Now the only issue with this, the positioning of the motor, if you look where my screwdriver is, and this is a ceramic and plastic screwdriver, it's very, very close to where that says caution electric shock. Luckily these two terminals on the end here have got nothing in them, but very, very careful, because you've got 240 right there. My finger looks like it's close, but it's not, so you have to be extremely careful with this deck. It's a little bit naughty actually, usually it gives you a little bit of space. Anyway, let's fire this through the analyzer and see what speed this is kicking out, make our adjustments. Once up to the right speed, then we can adjust levels and check the azimuth. So here we are then in Spectroid. The line you'll see on the right in a minute is, there you go, 6,000 hertz. What's going in is 6,300 hertz, so I'll give that a little bit of a tweak. The other way, that's gone down. And then we'll tweak it the other way until it says kind of 62816375, puts it right in the middle, and that is giving us our speed. So it's running at 6.3 kilohertz, exactly what we wanted. Happy days. So for our azimuth calibration, then we've got our calibration cassette in, and the azimuth adjustment screw is the left hand side screw on the playhead. Yes, it needs a clean, I've not got to that bit yet, but if you're ever unsure about which one the azimuth correction screw is, and it's not in the service manual, it is the one, if you just look behind it, maybe we can see, it's the one with the spring behind it that keeps the tension on your azimuth spring and retains the azimuth. So let us play this, and then we'll have a look on the analyzer and see if it needs adjusting. So yes, my oscilloscope is rubbish, but I'm happy with both of those tones in there. The jumping about, a lot of people go, the jumping about's the wow and flutter and all the rest of stuff. It's not. My oscilloscope's just rubbish, look, okay? So just bear with me on that one. I will replace it eventually, but both of those tones are in phase with each other, and as you can see, they're also roughly the same volume. If I move that top one, which is the left channel, on top of the right one, we're all good there. So we're coming to the end now. I often get a lot of people who say that they like to hear the music playing at the end, so I have got an absolute corker for you. And without further ado, I present to you accordions. And there we go. Brings us to a close of another thing. I have no idea what else is on that tip, so I'm going to have to cut it off at my little timer, which was 60 seconds there. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, getting back into our heart of the channel, doing some nice cassette decks that we're picking up off eBay. You too can do any of the things that I've been doing on here. It's something that can be done by anybody really, even without specialist materials, tools and test equipment. You can tune it to your ears, and if it works to your ears, what else matters, let's be honest. So anyway, I'm off now. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. It wasn't too boring. And if you've got any comments, anything you'd like to add, anything you'd like to tell me that I'm rubbish at, please add it into the comments below. And otherwise, I can't know anything about it. I do try and respond to as many comments as I can if I keep an eye on the channel through YouTube Studio. But for now, that is it. Please like and subscribe. Peace.